Welcome to my IT114 final demo. I will be demoing the chat room, as one does when it's the easiest one you get to choose. I will also be reading from my notes because I forget how my code works, so I had to look back up in my files and remember how each specific part of it worked, because it is a lot. God forbid you see all the files. Jeez. Okay, so we'll start with what I started in milestone 1. Server can be started with IDE and listen for connections. So right now I'm going to start the server through my terminal in VS Code. Oh, I did the wrong one. Please hold. Please hold. Oh, errors and everything. Server.java, and then I'm starting up. Yay! And now it is listening on port 3000. The server is listening on a specified port for connection, and when a connection is requested, it creates a server thread instance, which is a server-side representation of each client. And I will create the client request right now to join. Haha! After the server thread is created, it is added to a list of clients and started. It will continue this loop to continue to look for incoming connections. Errors will be caught and printed out to the user. And this is all in the server class in server.java. A client can be started via IDE and connected to the running server, which you just saw. The client class is compiled and run, which opens a UI interface. From there, you can specify the IP address to connect to, and the port, and the client, which is right here, just IP address and host and port, etc. Let me just open both of them. And the client will attempt to connect using the provided information. This is all in the client class in the connect function, and then also called in the client UI class, which is, you see the UI right here. Client can send messages to the server. Okay, we should probably do this in order because the proposal is in order of creation. So I'm going to jump to the client UI. Actually, we won't do it in order. It's really confusing. I don't want to miss anything. Okay, the client can send messages to the server. I'm just gonna ho ho. Just gonna pretend that, the client sends messages to the server via payloads. The payload contains information such as the type of payload. I just connected two clients to the same name. Nice. Okay, whatever. We're gonna deal with that when it comes along. Actually, I lied. I'm gonna connect another client. Let's not have two Sydneys. My brain is going AFK. Okay, and so Matt, because we are doing this for Professor Toggle. Yay! Via payloads. The payload contains information such as type of payload and the client name or ID that can be interpreted by the server. When the server receives the payload, it checks for the payload type and does logic accordingly. For example, if it was a send message payload, connect disconnect payload, or join room payload, it would act accordingly. Like, if you sent a connect disconnect payload, it wouldn't send a message. And this is all in the client class, and then receiving payload is in the server thread class. The server can broadcast messages to all connected clients of a particular room. We're broadcasting messages to all connected clients in the room by using the function sendMessage to loop through all the connected clients in a particular room to send the message to them. So if I say hi, Matt, the other client Matt will see the message in the UI and etc. If Matt says hi, I should be able to see it. Maybe he's muted. Can I unmute him? Poor Matt. Oh, he was muted. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Professor. I muted you. I muted you in the past. Okay, there we go. And then, so, hello. Both of the messages are seen by both, and the message is broadcast to all. The clients will have some sort of identifier to show who sent each message. When the room class sends a message, the client sends both their username via the client ID and the message, and then it is displayed client-side after the payload is received by converting the client ID to a displayable name. And this is sending in the room class, the message, and then the client receiving is in the client class and in the function process payload, which is, as you can see, I can see who sent each message, Matt says hi, and I said hello if there was no username to reflect that. Yeah, you wouldn't know who says what. Okay. Server will have the functionality to switch users between rooms. So the join room command will be called upon when the client attempts to join a different room. The room communicates with the server to attempt to pass the client along the new room. Anything cross-room related will be through the server class, and we'll go over this later, but you can see in search I can create a room. Room 1, because we're creative. Create. Join. Go back. Hello. And as you can see in Matt's room, you cannot see it, but if I do room 1 in Matt's client, and then I join it, and I can now join it, and he connected, and you can see it, and now I can say hi. Matt said hi, and then I said hi, and then you can see it. Oh, yeah, there we go. Now you can both see it. Following the payload concept, begin implementing some of the core functionality. So the core functionality. After setting the payload type, extra data such as client name, ID, message, and number can be sent by making setter and getter methods for each data. Enable for extra data to be sent received, and this is all in the payload class. So for example, if like get message, or no, get client name, get client ID, those are all like types of data that are in the payload class, and you can that message, those types of data can be processed, and there's like a lot of types, which of course is the client ID, the client name, the message, yeah, etc. What I already said, and so yeah. Create a server-side function. Create a server-side function. The process message commands ID, roll, and flip. So if I do /flip, and I can flip a coin, so, and you can see, man, this is annoying, I gotta scroll down. You can see my coin result in the clients on both of them, and my result was tails. Both of them can see it because I called upon that function. When flip is called, the room class generates a random number between 0 and 1, and if it was below 0.5, it equates to heads, and if not, it's tails. It was easier to do a if-else function for that because so I didn't have to do 2 if statements, because it just, like, if it's not below 0.5, it would be above 0.5, so it was really easy to, and then I equated, if it was below 0.5, then it would input heads, if else, tails. The server then broadcasts this result as a message to all of the clients, as I said. When roll is called, the room class generates a random number again between 0 and 1, and I'm going to roll a d6 because that is easy. And the server will broadcast it again. How I did that was, I just randomly generated a number between 0 and 1, and then multiply it by the number that is input by roll. So if I put /roll like 100, it would input 50 as the one of the random numbers generated. So that if you put a higher number, lower number, it doesn't matter. It will still output a random roll within that range. Yay! My brain is melting. Create a server-side function that processes messages to change text display that's broadcasted to all clients. So that's just like bold, italics, color, underline. If I want to be snazzy, you know, and say, and have Merry Christmas in red. Merry Christmas. Oh, I'm so snazzy. I can put that in red, see, and both servers, you can see that, and I can do some fancy boldness. I said Merry Christmas because Matt did not respond to my Merry Christmas, and so I go back. You know, come on, what's happening, Professor? And then I could also do other colors, or like italics, but I'm just going to showcase another color. Merry Christmas. And you can see it in green now. And then if I want to do italics, sorry, I was AFK. And we can see all of those formatting be applied. In a format message function that is called whenever a message is sent, an if statement occurs that checks the message is preceded with a double asterisk for italics, # R for red coloring, etc., and converts it to HTML format. It also does check at the end, because when I put $R message $R $, it has to check both ends and then take the message in between that, because if it just checked before, it would just send everything else and with the $R $ at the end. So we just took the message inside, whatever the formatting determinants are. So if that was for underline, I would remove I would first make an if statement if the message starts with and ends with the underlines, then inside is what is taken. After it's converted, it is broadcasted to all connected clients in the room class. And no, not in the room class, but this was implemented in the room class. Yes. Create a UI page panel. As you can see, this is the UI page and panel. In the connection panel class, it has a JText field for the ports and host to input for the information. So if I just input a third client, so we can see this implementation without messing up everything else, because that'd be sad. That'd be very sad. Okay, as you can see, UI, host, port. You can see the numbers. You can change it. Blah 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 blah. But I don't want to because I'm boring. It is auto-filled with default values, which are these, with the local host on launch. So this will automatically launch to the same host and port as the other ones, so that you don't have to type it in every time and die. In the user input panel class, the buttons are added, and the text input is added so that the client can type their username and input to be processed as information and sent and set their client name and ID. So this is where you set username. What's a random generic name? Bob. And then and then the UI changes to the chat panel. Yes. Create a UI page for the chat room, which is this. In the chat panel class, user input class, and the user list panel class, they create the UI to be displayed in the chat room. As you can see, this is the chat panel class where you can see the chat history. The user input panel class where you can type, etc. And then the user list panel where you can see all the users that are connected. I need to connect to the specific room. Room 1. Good thing I named it something generic so I can remember. And I can go back and see all the connected users, etc. All of the panels in UI receives information from the client class to display, i.e. usernames, text information. Event listeners are created to respond to button presses. Messages are sent by pressing the send button, which is here. Chat screens are accessed, and also the UI gets events from the client class because they have to communicate with the client UI class using the client events interface. Information such as connect, disconnect, and general communication is held in order to update the UI to be displayed to the user. So any changes to the UI will be reflected in that. Results from flip and roll appear in a different format than regular text chat. Of course, I already did those two with the /roll here and the /flip here. In case roll, the broadcast statement was changed to add the $G, which is changing the text color to green, in the string so that the text color it will be outputted in is green instead of just black, and that was in the room class. The same thing was applied to /flip, except it is displayed in red. Custom text display functions appear correctly in the chat area. Because before, when I first explained it, it would appear, the raw text in HTML, font color equals red, and font color equals green, and then BU for underline bold would just appear in the text chat panel, and it wouldn't actually show as red or show as green. But the text is sent to the server and is converted there, server side, into HTML format, which is then broadcasted to all the appropriate clients. Format message function is in the room class, and in the format message function, that's where I was able to format the messages. Self-explanatory. and yeah, so now it appears as red and green and underlined and bold and messages that proceed with @ username will send the message privately to the user denoted by the username. An if statement determines if the message starts with an @ symbol, and if it does, it will loop through a list of all connected clients until we find the client that we want to send the message to. When it is found, the message is then sent from the sender to that client and also to the sender as well, so that both clients can view the message and no one else. And this was implemented in the room class. So if I do @met, Bob sucks, very sad. It should, I'm in the wrong order. Matt is over here and I was confused. And that only DMs myself. Nice. @Matt, Bob sucks. Again, the right time. See, now it says Bob sucks, and Bob doesn't see it. Bob, you're great. I'm just gonna send that a public type so you can see that Bob is connected and it's not just public, and then Matt can respond to me and say, yeah, you're right. And I can send that and say, and oh, sorry, you gotta scroll down. And you can see that he responded, but Bob can't see it because he's a doofus and he's not in the private chat. Mute and unmute. I added a case mute command that if /mute is typed, and if the user is not already in the muted users list, it is added to the client's specific muted users list in the client class. When sending a message, the send message function in the room class loops through each client, and if their username does not match any of the usernames given in the muted users list, the message is sent. If /unmute is typed, then case unmute is called upon, and that client's specific muted users list will remove the previously muted user and update the list to not contain that user anymore. Sorry, I'm like fumbling. So yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to clean things up because there was the scroll bar was getting annoying. Whatever. Okay. Anyways, so /mute Matt, I can mute him, and as you can see, even though it's not working, he's muted. And you can say, see the Sydney muted you, but that's later actually. And if I type, hello, answer me, please, I can't see him. And then I can also unmute him, unmute Matt, and you can see that Sydney unmuted you. And now I can answer, hello. Yeah, and I can see his text, and I can be like, hi. And now he's unmuted. Client can export the chat history of their current session client side. Every time a message is sent in chat history, it is added to an array list containing the client name and the message sent, including the formatting. While unfortunately I was not able to get the formatting to show in the Notepad app, which is lame, I know, but you know, it still shows the raw HTML indicators, which I will show right now by using the export button. And then going in here, it should be in, not here, here, it's in log. Okay, I don't know why it's showing as null, because it was working earlier, but usually there would be the client ID, or client name here, so it would say, it would literally just reflect it. So the first hello, it would say Sydney, Matt, and then it's the server. Because this is Matt, I exported on Matt's client, and you can see all the messages here, and then I can type again, type to see that it will update the log. If you export it again, it might clear it, and it does. Okay, type. So it will update the log and show the new messages that have been sent. Okay. Client's mute list will persist across sessions. As you can see, that has happened already, but my mute lists have already persisted throughout the sessions. A mute list is added every time the mute command is called and saved to a text document by usage of a scanner. Every time a client joins, the mute list is called upon and read in order to re-add muted users to the list to remain muted. I use the file writer class and the buffered writer class to edit the text documents. Which this is implemented in the server thread class and room class. As I already opened earlier, the muted users list, it persists the same names, and this is for me. And if I close it and I mute Matt, and I check again, and Matt's there. So it will persist, and it'll recheck if I open it again, which I will close cross sessions. I already showed that earlier when I had to unmute Matt to see his messages, so I'm not going to show that again because I don't want to restart this the server. But anyways, let's see. Clients will receive a message when they get muted/unmuted by another user, i.e. Bob muted you. When a client is muted by a user, case mute is called, and the local client, the person being muted, is sent the message by the server. This tells them which user muted them, and it is not being broadcast. So that's already what we saw. We saw Sydney unmuted you. Sydney muted you, I muted him again. I'm going to unmute really quick so I can do it on the other side. You can see Sydney unmuted you, /mute Sydney. Matt muted me, I'm sad, and he unmutes me, and I'm happy again. Unmute Sydney, that's my name, I don't remember. And yeah, he unmuted me, but I'm going to mute Matt again for the next step, which is the user list should update it per status of each user. Muted users will appear grayed out, and the last person sent a message gets highlighted. Using the client UI class in the onMessageReceive function for each message sent, I updated the user list to reflect that they were the last one to send the message by using mark to highlight their name, which is the HTML equivalent. A new name is highlighted if a message is sent. So I'm actually going to unmute him. I don't know why. Or that's for the next part though. A new name is highlighted if a message is sent. For the muted users, gray text in the instance that a client's muted users list contains a username. The username is then colored gray to reflect that. And actually, fun fact, the hexadecimal code for gray, one of them is 696969. Funny number. Yep. However, these both somehow aren't showing for some reason because despite changing the text/plain to text/HTML so it would process as an HTML, which is what I did for the chat panel, and like it works for chat panels. So if I do like -r hello r not dash £, it'll change the color in chat panel, but it somehow doesn't change the color in the user panel, and it makes me mad. You can see that, and you can see the mark in the highlight because I recently sent a text or a message, and you can see it over here in Matt's client as well, but Matt is muted, so that is why the font color 6969 is there, because it's supposed to be grayed out, but it's not working, so I'm crying. And the user list panel is still showing the raw text and not formatting correctly in the text panel whenever user formats a message, which is very sad, and that's why it's not working. So yeah, that's my project. 9:45 p.m. It's December 22nd. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to those who don't celebrate. So thank you. Give me an A on this, please.